I don't know what song that is, Noah, but if I had to guess, Tyler, the Creator. But please do enlighten me. For those of you who have been here since the stream started, you noticed I had a change in the intro music, because for some reason, the Wii Boxing Victory theme was stuck in my head, so I ran that for 2 minutes before we played our typical song. Because why not? Why am I getting DMs, bro? It's fucking Trevor mode. Sweet. Oh wait, I know that song. That's from Call Me If You Get Lost, isn't it? That's like one of the super long ones. It's that in Wilshire, right? Anyway, that's been an opinion for a while, but it's not like the people who are saying that don't like it. I actually reviewed Damn recently on my Album of the Year account. I listened to it yesterday because yesterday was its 8-year anniversary, which is crazy that album's been out for 8 years. I love Damn. But yeah, I do love Damn. It is tied. Would it be tied for third or tied for fourth? I think it'd be tied for fourth. I don't know, but it's To Pimp a Butterfly, then Good Kid, Mad City, then Mr. Morale and Damn are tied. I haven't reviewed Untitled Unmastered yet, or Section 80, or Overly Dedicated, or the Kendrick Lamar EP. I've reviewed those ones that I just mentioned, and GNX are the only ones that I've reviewed so far. GNX is pretty easily my least favorite Kendrick album, and I liked it a lot. It was my second favorite album of 2024, but it's definitely my least favorite of his albums, which, I mean, it's whatever. I don't think he's washed or anything. I just think what he was going for isn't what I'm anticipating in a Kendrick album, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was good music, but like I think the ceiling for a song like Squabble Up or Hey Now, which I like way more than Squabble Up, by the way, but the ceiling for a song like Hey Now is far lower than the ceiling for a song like in the style of, say, How Much a Dollar Costs. Just in terms of what you're going for with the song, How Much a Dollar Cost can be so much better in execution solely based on the concept, if you get what I'm saying. How do we feel about Damn in the chat? What's your favorite song on Damn? I think we might have spoken about this a couple streams ago, but mine's Duckworth. And second place is a tie. No, second place is Triple X, and then third is a tie between a bunch of other shit. Isn't that a 3.5 hour long video? I'm not gonna. I don't. Honestly, I'll probably watch it someday, but I don't plan to do that anytime soon. I don't think I'll ever do it on stream, to be honest. Because that video, it's the one that's called I'm With the Culture Feeling, right? It's too long. The video itself is longer than a stream usually is. That stream, just that one video, would be like 5 hours. I'll look it up, but we're not going to do it today. Maybe. Let me see. Zedante. Oh, I've seen this guy before. What's the name of the video? This guy doesn't even upload. He hasn't uploaded in 3 months. Oh no, he's uploaded 2 weeks ago. But before that, he hadn't uploaded in 3 months. Kendrick and Drake. I don't see that. That's not on his channel. It's literally not there. These are all of his videos. That's literally all of them. I think I've seen the guy's shorts before. That's probably what it is. Different channel? I don't see it anywhere. It's not really showing up. I'm not seeing it. Well, anyway, even if I do find it, we're not going to watch it today. You can't put links in chat. It doesn't work. I have that disabled, so people can't just spam bullshit. Well, if I do come across it at some point, maybe, but we're not doing it today regardless. I already have some things queued up. What about Twitch? Pretty sure I turned that off. Yeah, I turned links off in Twitch chat for non-mods, I'm pretty sure. Let me see, hold on. see Kendrick versus Drake memes by Zay Dante in order, but nothing about the timeline, and that video is also 21 minutes long. True. Trevor, let's be so for real. Let's be so for real for 1 second, Trevor. Hold on, I'm going to your channel. Let's be so for real. You don't want me reacting to your videos, bro. I'm bad PR for you. Oh, the hiking vids? Okay, yeah, those are fire. I feel like I can't put a lot of input on the hiking vids. I feel like it's just like me watching it. I've done it once before. I think I watched the one that you called me for forever ago. I gotta ask, Trevor. Did the same person edit this one as these two? Because hey, at least it's doing well. You can't see the number. There you go. It's doing better than some of my funny moments videos do, which just shows that YouTube's all luck and no skill. Yeah, okay. I was just making sure you were aware that it was just 2 raw games clipped out of your stream. I can't believe it, because that's what your shit looks like. I put out an absolute fucking banger. Oh, I guess this one did alright. This one did pretty good. But most of them, I mean, Pokemon's not as big of a pull as Mario Kart, but like, look, this is one of my favorite videos on my channel. I got 27 views. I was really upset about that. And this video I like a lot. Also has 27 views. This one, way better, chat. This is a good video. I watched this one on stream with y'all. This is easily one of my favorite videos on my channel, though. Hey, we got 1K on this bitch. I was kind of expecting 1K on this bitch, so alright. I think that's enough of the music for now. But we do have videos on the way. May, gonna start uploading again. I have one video finished. I've had a decent amount of schoolwork, so I haven't gotten on editing the next video. Or I guess not the next video. The next video that I edit is gonna come out first. It's gonna be Repo. Hopefully I'll be able to start editing that less than a week from now. I probably will be able to start editing it around then. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, we're going to watch the first one of these in a moment. I don't know how they blow up on this channel. They do better than the hiking ones. It's so disappointing. Yeah, the hiking ones take a lot more effort than those. It's genuinely like, I would argue it's 90% luck, 10% skill. Because even if you have the best luck in the world, if your videos are shit, it's not going to take you anywhere for the long term. But I'd still say it's like 90% luck. Something else percent concentrated power of will. I forgot about that song. And 100% remember the name. What a fuck. Who sings that shit? That shit. I used to love that. That song's kind of dookie in retrospect. That song was never really that good. I used to love that though. That's no Duckworth. You take 2 strangers and put them in random predicaments. Give them a soul so they can make their own choices and live with it. Then 20 years later, them same strangers you make them meet again inside recording studios where they reaping their benefits. Then you start reminding them about that chicken incident. Whoever thought the greatest rapper would be from coincidence. Because if Anthony killed Ducky, Top Dog could be serving life while I grew up without a father and died in a gunfight. One of the best fucking, like... Not even... I guess mic drop is not really the right term. But, like... It's such a good line to close that entire album. It's just such like a fucking what the fuck mind-blown moment. If we do watch both of the videos I have queued up, they are quite different. First one is a true crime thing. The Atlanta Child Murders Explained. So I guess a trigger warning for anybody who doesn't want to hear about child murders. But, you guys like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's all about child murders. Bro, I need to get into the shorts game. I don't make YouTube shorts, and I need to. Honestly, before I start working on my next video, I'm probably going to pull a couple of shorts out of the one that I've already edited, and then put those out after the video comes out. But we'll see. Anyway, so first one is true crime about Atlanta child murders. Next one is a little bit more Politically charged. It's the one that we saw on a different React stream that I just didn't want to watch because it was super long at the time. It's a middle ground debate between a leftist, a liberal, a conservative, and a MAGA person. So I'm very curious to see how that goes, but that depends on how long the first one takes us to watch. Because the first one's 51 minutes, other one's an hour 20, so we might not get to both of them. If the first one takes long enough, we'll probably just like play, I don't know, Fortnite, Black Ops 2 or something like that for the rest of the stream. We're gonna wing it. That's how I usually do it. Shorts piss you off. I haven't had enough experience with shorts to be pissed off by them. I think Euphoria is the best song in the Drake Kendrick beef. I agree. To an extent. I think it's... I would order it as... See, it's different if we're counting like that, though. But I'd say Euphoria, 616 in LA, then Like That, then Not Like Us. Family Matters and Push-Ups you could go either way with. And then Tailor-Made Freestyle wasn't great. And then Hard Part 6 was terrible. That would be my order for those tracks. I do think, like, in retrospect, it could be a factor of the overplayedness of it, but I don't necessarily think it is. I just think Not Like Us is probably the weakest of the Kendrick songs, but it's still better than the Drake songs. And Push-Ups and Family Matters are still good songs. I like Push-Ups a lot, actually. I can't do copyrighted music. I'm giving up on that. I've been getting claims, like invalid claims on streams recently that I've had to dispute. It's been a pain in the ass. And I've gotten claims on like songs in YouTube videos that I've watched, which is really annoying, but I just mute them. It's frustrating. So I'm not going to dance with copyrighted music on stream. And if I do, it's going to be a dedicated stream for stuff that involves copyrighted music, and it will be exclusively over on the Twitch channel. So that's what we're that's how that's going to go for the future of the channel. Yeah, one day I'm gonna go through my music reaction videos, and I'm gonna spam dispute them all, because technically reaction videos are a form of fair use, but there's just a lot of them, so I haven't gotten to it yet. It's gonna be a pain in the ass. I have like 160. Yo, what's up, Denk? How you doing? Bro, I'm trying to grow out like this part of the facial hair. I usually don't. You can't see it now because it's super short. I want to see if it actually does grow out a little bit. It's in the shadow. You could kind of see it. I want to see if it grows. I don't know if it's able to, but it's starting to get itchy already. But I had that problem with this too, and I got used to it, so I'm going to stick it through. You want later give an opinion tomorrow? If I remember, yeah, for sure. If not, you could keep reminding me until I do remember. That's happened a few times with things that people have like DM'd me on well, not people, my mods have DM'd me on Discord and shit, because I forget. Speaking of, actually, there were Neon was telling me about Rage Against the Machine songs that I should listen to, and I am just now remembering for the first time in like several weeks that he told me about those. I have it pinned though, so when I actually get to it, I have the list somewhere. So I will get to those eventually. Shout out Neon. He's not here right now, but shout out to him. But yeah, I have plans for certain streams that are gonna like be heavily involved with copyrighted music. But again, those are just gonna be on Twitch. I have one specifically in mind, and also just any hype music releases that I'm really excited for. I will probably stream my reaction to on Twitch exclusively. That's probably how that's gonna go. And if I don't, I'll record them for myself. Anyway. B. Yeah, I'm out the way. Yeah, I'm low. Okay. Yeah, the island right here is remote. Okay. Ain't thinking about no reaper. I'm reaping what I sow. Okay. Got a Benjamin and a Jackson all in my house. Like I'm Joe. Okay. Hey, okay. Okay. That's enough. All right. The SMP is full anarchy. That's not surprising. How many people are online? 3? I might hop back on, like, I don't know, within the next week. Why am I, like, so white right now? The light is, like, blasting on my face. I guess I'm a little leaning in too close to it. You're the only one. Nice. I feel like we got to give that like a good farewell. I feel like we just kind of abruptly stopped. I feel like we at least got to hop back on to give it like some closure. You know what I'm saying? We could organize something with that. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon, but I'd like to do that. Ooh, this is looking a little messy right now. Maybe I need to give it a little trim. When's it closing? You have a Discord server? Yeah, you could check in the description, or if you do !Discord in chat. All right, well tell Rob to leave it up for like long enough for us to like hop on to do like a I don't know, like a grand finale to like the story of what we got going on a little bit. Trevor, I'll talk to you about that off stream. I feel like that could be like a fun little like one-off like last thing to do. Hop on the SMP for like an hour and like an hour or two. Give it a little farewell. I mean, at the current moment, it was like we formed an alliance. Remember to take down G-Force, but I have some ideas. I can DM you about it. I don't want to do I don't want to put spoilers in the chat. I could DM you about what I was considering. You don't want to give it like a close though. I feel like we like set something up and then we didn't do anything with it. All right, I'll DM you about it at some point. I'll talk to Rob to see when he plans to shut everything down. If he does a modded war like with like military shit and stuff, there's dead ass no shot. I'm playing that respectfully.
Yeah,
I have a couple ideas for future SMPs that could be fun. Like I feel like an SMP with a horror mod could be fucking dope. But was it over a month ago now? I don't think it was over a month ago. It's probably close to a month ago though. Modded War is so good. Hey, you know what? We like different things. Please check the meme section in your Discord server. Okay. I see the caption and I already know where it's going. I'm not watching that. I know what you're trying to bait me into. That's a really I was gonna say that's an unfortunate typo. You did that on purpose. I know you did that on purpose, Denki Up. Because N and D are nowhere near each other on a keyboard. Okay. I've had some discussions with a certain member of the community, about not any time like super soon, but in the somewhat near future, when I'm back in that Minecraft mood doing a new SMP.
oh yeah.
I don't know if I want to do vanilla,
I feel that
or I still think something like a horror mod would be really fun.
within a couple of days.
No, you cannot, Denki Up, because I'm still probably gonna log on at least one more time, and I'd rather you not do that. After the fact, though, I mean, I'll be off it. Although I do want to download. I'll have to like ask Rob probably download that like version of the map before you do that because that'd be fun to keep. I actually do like what we did with that world. Someone already destroyed it. Oh, okay, that's great.
That's all there is to let it, Mag.
I wanted to like save what I had built, but I guess it's saved in the streams.
The three essential B's.
Took your baby mama to the south side. It was hot outside. When did it get switched to Anarchy? I'm assuming a while ago, because I feel like nobody's fucking online. How did they have enough time to do all that? No, you probably missed a kiss the ba ba ba. That's the only copyrighted music that's gonna show up on the stream when I'm singing what's stuck in my head.
It's not dagger pitch.
Oh, damn. Well, I don't trust you, Noah. I'm not falling for it, and I'm not watching it. On principle, I'm not watching it, so don't even ask again. Because I'm not... Because, you know... Okay, how about this? How about this, Noah? You could tell me if you want me to watch it, but if it's low tape or fade, I'm banning you. Perma-ban. Now, do you want me to watch it?
Hello? Yeah. Bruh.
I'm not gonna call any bluffs here. I just don't want to watch the video. I just don't want to watch the video. We have videos queued up already to watch. I mean, maybe I'll watch it off stream, but we're not gonna pull it up on stream right now. That's surprising. Yeah, if I do eventually do what I was talking about, like another SMP, which I'm at the very, very earliest, it would be in the summer, but probably later than that, I would definitely do invite only. I think there are just too many issues that come along with letting whoever join. The only benefit is that you get more people clicking in to be like, can I join? Can I join? But
I'm gonna open up
bro,
the sky.
what is it with everybody fucking DMing me and sending me shit?
Yeah.
No, you probably missed a kiss the ba ba ba. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Alright. I didn't even get a DM.
Yeah, mine is update too.
Fuck you, Denki Op. Alright. We've already been live for half an hour. Alright. We're gonna get into the fun segment of the stream, where we watch a little bit of a true crime video. The Atlanta Child Murders Explained by Unpredictable. Thank you to Unpredictable for the video. W True Crime, that's what I'm saying, Turtle. Oh, wait. It's muted. W Turtle. W
July
Monitor.
28th, 1979. It's a hot summer day in Atlanta,
How's the volume
Georgia,
for you
and
guys,
a woman
chat?
is collecting cans off an empty and abandoned lot off the side of Niskey Lake Road when she comes across the unmistakable smell
50-minute
of
video.
decomposition. The road is lined on each side by trees, and as the woman comes closer to the source of the smell, what she sees would soon begin.
It's not happening, Noah. I would appreciate if you stopped asking. Please and thank you. I think maybe 2 hours. I don't think it'll be more than an hour and a half, though. But I think there's a chance this goes over 2 hours. But that just means I'm a good reactor, Trevor. That just means I'm transformative. You feel me? I'm not stealing we don't steal content in these parts. But, is the volume good?
Over a year of terror for the children and families of Atlanta. There in the woods was the body of a young boy. After calling the police, authorities eventually identify the boy as Edward Hope Smith. His friends called him Teddy. Edward, 14 at the time, had been reported missing for a week before his body was found in the woods. The cause of death
just gonna
is
keep my
determined
camera
to be
here.
a gunshot wound to the back, fired from a .22 caliber pistol, although the bullet was never recovered. As police reached the scene and began canvassing the area, they would soon realize that this was not the only body they'd find that day. Not far away, within 150 yards from Edward's body, was the body of another child, in a
Jesus.
state of extensive decomposition. It was clear to authorities that this body had been in the woods much longer than Edward's had, and therefore might have been dumped at a different time. Due to the level of decomposition, it would take authorities over a year to identify him, but eventually, the body was determined to have been that of Alfred James Evans, who had been reported missing by his mother for a week prior
I'll
to
move
his
the camera
body's
so you can see the
discovery.
faces, so
He
you
was
guys can get
13
the
years old.
emotional
The
attachment.
cause of death? Asphyxia by strangulation.
Jesus
While
Christ.
the police were originally
I'm gonna
unwilling
leave
to
my camera
acknowledge
here, though.
any correlation between the deaths of the two boys, they could not deny two things both children had in common. Both were black, and both came from low-income neighborhoods.
Teddy's
Jesus.
parents have had no word from their son in all this time. The 14-year-old has never disappeared like this. But the family lives in a neighborhood where there is a great deal of crime among youths. When a 14-year-old wanders away from home, people aren't concerned.
But for cops in Atlanta, a city looking to build its reputation as a hub for national business, the deaths of two black boys were quickly swept under the rug, with little effort put into their investigations. But in the
Shocking.
years to come, the names of these children would demand to be heard, ushering in one of the darkest periods in Atlanta's history.
These are not pleasant days on the south side of Atlanta. Someone has been abducting and murdering black children, and the police unable to make any headway are under fire. Sam Ford reports.
That would be fire. Noah, you should change. You should do that. Change the channel name to Noah and shit, and just change your shorts to just videos of like shit logs in random places. I think that would be awesome.
I bet all the Valorant characters are probably like
In the years leading up to the murders that would eventually put Atlanta's name on headlines across the nation, Atlanta was already in the spotlight for an entirely different reason.
Yeah, like scenic misses, yeah.
In the 1960s and 70s, Atlanta was one of many cities in the Deep South racing to become the new southern hotspot for business and commerce. After expanding its metropolitan area, Atlanta was committed to inviting the most hopeful and hardworking people to build their careers and businesses in the city. Gone were the
What is
days
this
of being
fucking
just another
exposition
town in
dump?
the Deep South. Atlanta was now competing for the title of the New South, not only becoming a leader in economics, but a cultural hub as well. Although, the city wasn't without its faults, and like many cities in the American South, Atlanta grappled with the ever-present racism entrenched in its systems.
Great.
With a very recent history of KKK activity and lynchings, Atlanta's expansion and success still didn't solve the racial divide, and the
I
people
think this was the 70s. Oh, you got invited to Atlanta when this happened. Oh, okay. That was really bad timing. That was really bad timing, Trevor. That was really, really bad timing. Clip it. Someone clip it.
Like, I
Clip it and
just
ship it.
know when I pull the club out,
Put it in Trevor's Discord.
Mason's gonna be hitting me.
That was tragic.
He's just gonna start laughing.
benefiting the most were the affluent white population of Atlanta, while black Atlantans were still facing the heat of systemic discrimination in housing, employment, and the justice system. However, over time, public opinion would soon shift when the city started to make tangible steps towards desegregating schools, even electing its first ever black mayor in 1973, followed soon by its first black police chief, public safety commissioner, and city council president in the years following. Atlanta was changing,
clip.
now proudly calling itself the city too busy to hate. On the surface, it seemed like the city was seeing new horizons, with the promise of equal opportunity and unprecedented growth,
Tight
an image
shit.
the city was determined to protect at all costs. So when reports of rising crime rates and missing black boys and girls were being raised, police and the media did its best to ignore the problem, maintaining its
Yeah,
image
Trevor,
lest
you're
the money
cooked.
stopped flowing. That's why it was all too easy for the police to chalk up the two murdered boys to drug-related violence. But the communities these murders had affected did not accept this response, and as more children would be found, the Atlanta lawmakers would soon feel the heat.
I swear that's always happened to me.
Only a few months after the discovery of Edward Smith and Alfred Evans, there came a slew of other missing black children, soon to be found dead in various parts of Atlanta. The third to be added to the list was 14-year-old Milton Harvey, who in early September 1979 was reported missing after he'd rode a bike to the bank to pay off a credit card statement for his mother.
13 and
It was the
14
first day of
years.
school that day, but Harvey had stayed home because he was embarrassed by the shoes his mother had gotten him. After
That's
paying the
sad.
bill, somewhere in the 3 miles between the bank and his home, he disappeared. His bike would be found a week later on a dirt road,
the fuck
but it
up,
would
Trevor.
take police another 2 months to find his skeletal remains off the intersection of Desert and Redwine Road, so badly decomposed that it was difficult to pinpoint the cause of death. This location was over 12 miles away from his home. To this day, his cause of death remains undetermined. Soon after, on October 21st,
Game is
9-year-old Yusuf Ali Bell would go
A
missing after
9-year-old,
heading out on
bro?
an errand to buy snuff or tobacco for an elderly neighbor. A store employee who recalls seeing Yusuf said he left the store at around 4:45 p.m. Another witness, who actually knew Yusuf Bell and his mother, then claimed she saw him entering a blue car on Fulton Street, but Yusuf's mother claimed that the witness was untrustworthy. For weeks after his disappearance, his community rallied to find him and bring him home.
What kind of a boy was he?
Basically a good boy, bright, outgoing to some extent, but not as outgoing as, say, my other son. He played drums, he played trumpet. He was running for treasurer of his class.
He was a well-loved boy in his neighborhood, known to all as a very bright and quick-witted kid. So when he went missing, neighbors were putting up flyers and asking everyone they could for information.
If there's somebody out there like that that has him, I just wish they knew that somebody here loves him, that a whole lot of people love him, that this whole community loves him, and they want him back too.
To Yusuf's mother, the idea that he had simply run away, an explanation the police often suggested, made no sense.
He wasn't the kind of little boy that would run away. He's involved in everything. He's in the gifted program at Dunbar. He's involved in boys club. He's involved in a karate class.
To her, it seemed as though the Atlanta PD wasn't taking her case seriously. So his mother, Camille
Okay,
Bell,
Noah.
decided to take matters into her own hands, pleading to cameras for the perpetrator to bring her son home.
Send him home. Just send him home. Just let him go and let him call us. We'll come pick him up. They don't have to even bring him back. Just turn him loose where he can get to a phone. Just send him home.
A few weeks later, on November 8, 1979, his body would be found by a janitor in the crawlspace of an abandoned school. Upon examination,
Fucking
Yusuf's body
9-year-old,
showed
bro.
signs of strangulation, with bruises and fingernail punctures found on his neck. His cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation. But what was different about this case was that it was the first time that investigators had found fibers on one of the bodies. On Yusuf's pants was a small piece of masking tape, and stuck to the tape were green carpet fibers. Now, this piece of information didn't mean anything to investigators at the time, but it would soon become the focal point of the investigation. Now, with 4 black children dead, 2 with similar causes of death, in the span of a few months, the community was beginning to question why the police were treating these cases as isolated incidents. One of the lead advocates in pressuring the police and the city to investigate these 4 murders properly was Camille Bell, mother of Yusuf Bell, who in the years to come would play a critical role in bringing attention to the victims.
What I'm saying to you is it's not enough to love your children. You got to love my children. You got to love everybody's children. If you see a child out there that's walking into trouble, don't say, well, his mama don't care. If you care, you say something. If it's important to you, you stop it. If you see a child getting into somebody's car, if it's his daddy's car and that's who he's going with, fine. So you get it. So you go over and you look a little foolish for a minute. But wouldn't you feel better looking a little foolish for a minute because you said something than having a pain in your heart from now on because you didn't?
She would later partner with other leaders in the community to ensure that her son's killer would be found. She would frequent City Hall and demand to speak to city officials. She did TV interviews pressuring the police to investigate the case, and organized within her local community to prioritize the safety of their children. But for the city officials of Atlanta, this growing uproar was becoming a problem. They had spent years cultivating an image of Atlanta that flaunted booming business and continuous growth, and now that image was at risk of being shattered. Trying to quell the panic, city officials continuously insisted that there was no link between the murders, and that they were all isolated incidents. The threat of bad press was so concerning that the city had even hired
especially that's insane just because of the similarities in the first place, but 2 of them were 500 feet apart. They said 150 yards, so 450 feet apart. Come on. Really?
public relations consultant to, quote, improve
Coincidence?
communications between the police and the public.
I think not.
But for Camille Bell, the question of who killed her son was still unanswered, and soon the group of concerned mothers would grow. Throughout Christmas and the New Year of 1980, the Atlanta child killer laid low. But a few months into the new year, the murders would start again, and this time more consistent than ever before. The first victim of 1980 would be 12-year-old Angel Latrice Lanier. She'd gone to her friend's house to watch Sanford & Sons, her favorite TV show, but had gone missing on the way back. Angel's body was found a week later tied to a tree, a few blocks from her home.
Jesus Christ.
She was found with women's underwear stuffed in her mouth and electrical cord tied around her hands.
Oh.
Her cause of death, like many of the others, was determined to be asphyxiation. But now, with 5 murders in 7 months and no word from police about similarities, the killer had grown bold. The next few murders happened on average almost every single month, sometimes even multiple times a month, for 14 months straight.
Jesus
Next was
Christ.
Jeffrey Mathis, who disappeared while running a
24?
quick errand to buy his mother's cigarettes. Some witnesses had come forward claiming that they'd seen Jeffrey for weeks, even months after his disappearance, but despite these sightings, Jeffrey was still nowhere to be found. Next came 14-year-old Eric Middlebrooks. After taking a phone call at around 10:30 p.m., Eric grabbed a hammer and some other hand tools and bolted out the door, saying he needed to fix his bike. Police were never able to figure out who this caller was, or why Eric needed to leave so quickly. The next morning, less than 24 hours after he'd left his house, Eric's body was found dumped behind a building that housed a bar. Upon examining the body, investigators found a clump of red fibers caught in Eric's shoe. His cause of death? Brain injury from a blunt instrument.
Jesus Christ.
The next few came in quick succession. June 9th, 12-year-old Christopher Richardson disappeared while walking to a nearby swimming pool. Camille Bell and a growing list of anguished mothers started putting pressure on the Atlanta PD. who at this point still didn't see the correlation between the murders. June 22nd, 7-year-old Latanya Wilson was abducted from her home in the middle of the night. Her parents woke up the next morning to see the window pane in her room removed, the back door open, and Latanya nowhere to be seen.
Christ,
I just want my little girl found safely and brought home. I miss her and I love her.
A witness later recounted that she'd seen 2 men carrying Latanya away the night she disappeared. The day after, 10-year-old Aaron Weich was last seen in a grocery store in southeast Atlanta. His body was found 1 day later, face down under a highway overpass. It was clear he'd fallen off the overpass, and his cause of death was determined to be positional asphyxiation. But because investigators assumed Aaron's death was an accident, his case wasn't associated with the Atlanta child murders until the next year.
Great.
For one thing, he was scared of height, and he wouldn't have been up on that bridge in the first place, and that was too far from home for him to be. And he never went down there.
July 9th, Anthony Carter disappeared while playing outside with a cousin. His body was found the next day, behind a warehouse with stab wounds to the back and chest. At this point, it had been 1 year since the murders began. 11 black children had vanished, 8 found dead, and 3 still missing. The city's children were being hunted, and their killer or killers were growing bolder with each passing month. The mothers of these children, much like the residents of Atlanta, had had enough. In June 1980, 3 mothers, Camille Bell, Willie Mae Mathis, and Venus Taylor, formed the Committee to Stop Children's Murders, or STOP for short, to pressure the Atlanta PD to investigate these cases as connected murders. And it worked, at least on the surface. Around a month later, the Public Safety Commissioner of Atlanta at the time, Lee Brown, announced the creation of a special task force dedicated to investigating the string of child murders that Atlanta had seen in the past year. The task force, initially composed of 5 officers, set out to identify patterns and connections between the cases. Around this time, they requested the assistance of the FBI Behavioral Science Unit and began compiling a list of victims they believed could be linked, an effort that would later come to define the entire investigation. This was supposed to be a turning point, a sign that the city was finally taking action and taking the children and mothers of Atlanta seriously. But if the killer was watching, he wasn't deterred.
Jesus Christ. 11 murders in a year of kids. 14 to 7.
Just over a week after the announcement, another child disappeared.
Jesus.
On July 30th, 1980, 10-year-old Earl Terrell headed to the local swimming pool with his friends, a familiar summer routine. But the day wouldn't go according to plan. After being caught roughhousing on deck a few times, Earl was kicked out and was seen leaving the pool on his own. What happened next is uncertain. A few witnesses recalled brief glimpses of him. One saw him crying alone at the corner of Jonesboro Road, while another claimed he stopped by a nearby house, looking for a friend who wasn't home. Somewhere along the path from the pool to his house, Earl Terrell disappeared. But this disappearance was not like the others the city had seen, because while his family was scouring the neighborhood looking for him, they received a call from what sounded like a middle-aged white man with a southern drawl. "I've got Earl," he was recounted as saying. "He's in Alabama. It will cost you $200 to get him back. I will call back on Friday." But the caller never followed up.
How much is $200 in 1980 worth today? That's still not that much. That's not a incredibly hefty ransom for your child. Like, you would think that he'd try to leverage like $50,000, but no. That's like something that, I mean, to be fair, anybody would cough any amount of money up for their child. I mean, yeah, they probably didn't have money, but that would have put them into like a very dire financial situation. But like, who cares? Would you rather be in a dire financial situation or just let your kid get fucking killed, you know? Like,
and Earl wouldn't be found for another 6 months. This case marked one of the first times that the FBI actively stepped in.
There you go.
Up until then, the investigation had only been led by the Atlanta PD and the Georgia Bureau
why have
of
I never
Investigation.
heard of this?
But since the caller had claimed Earl had been taken across state lines,
nobody would not, like, no parent would not, like, go into debt to save their child's life. There's no depends to that unless they hate their fucking kid. But any normal parent, like Jeff Bezos would go bankrupt. Jeff Bezos would go bankrupt to save his children. Or, man, well, Jeff Bezos is a piece of shit. But even then, he's a father. You know what I'm saying? You know that's a lie. You know that's a lie.
Suggested a potential federal crime, kidnapping. And under those circumstances, the FBI had the authority to intervene. But even with the FBI's involvement, months passed without answers. It wasn't until January 1981 that Earl's severely decomposed remains were found, alongside those of Christopher Richardson, who disappeared 7 months earlier. Now both boys' cause of death couldn't be determined, but the fact that they were found in the same secluded location was of interest to investigators.
So wait, hold on. What was the deal with the guy who said he had Earl? Hold on, I'm running it back.
I've got Earl, he was recounted as saying. He's in Alabama. It will cost you $200 to get him back. I will call back on Friday. But the caller never followed up, and Earl wouldn't be found for another 6 months. This case marked one of the first times that the FBI actively stepped in. Up until then,
but, like,
the investigation had only been led by the Atlanta PD and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
I don't get it,
but since
whatever.
the caller had claimed Earl had been taken across state lines, it suggested a potential federal crime, kidnapping.
You could tell he lied because, again,
the
like,
FBI had
if
the
he was telling the truth, he would ask for a lot more than $200.
authority to intervene. But even with the FBI's involvement, months passed without answers. It wasn't until January 1981 that Earl's severely decomposed remains were found, alongside those of Christopher Richardson, who disappeared 7 months earlier. Now both boys' cause of death couldn't be determined, but the fact that they were found in the same secluded location was of interest to investigators. Although the kids didn't know each other, their remains could suggest that they might have been killed and dumped at the same time.
We don't know whether this represents a major breakthrough or not. What we do know is that we're giving these cases everything we have to find in one location the remains of 2 bodies that appear to be children, obviously is a very significant occurrence.
While the police struggled to make sense of the connections, the killer, almost like clockwork, struck again.
Jesus.
This time, it would be 12-year-old Clifford Jones, last seen collecting cans to sell with his cousins. After getting separated and going missing, his body would be found early the next morning, beside a dumpster at a shopping plaza. He was found wearing clothes that weren't his, and on those clothes were synthetic carpet fibers, just like the ones found on Yusuf Bell's body. Investigators concluded that just like Angel and Nair, Clifford had been strangled with a rope-like object. Clifford Jones marked the 13th missing or murdered black child in Atlanta, and for the mothers in the community, this was 13 children too many. Camille Bell and Stop ramped up their projects, holding press conferences for journalists to get the word out about what was going on in Atlanta. They took community safety into their own hands and organized neighborhood block groups meant to keep watch over the neighborhood's children.
We have not ruled out the fact that there's a relationship. All I've suggested is at this point, the information that we have has not tied it together to suggest a trend or a pattern.
The police department doesn't want to alarm the community. They're afraid of panic. But how many children do we have to lose in our neighborhoods before the police department says, hey, we've got a problem?
Thanks to the constant and unyielding efforts of Stop, the mayor expanded the Special Police Task Force from 5 officers to 17, whom he vowed were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and would not leave any stone unturned. But when 11-year-old Darren Glass went missing 1 month later, never to be seen again, the city of Atlanta would start to see the reputation it had worked so hard to build begin to crumble. As the month dragged on, businesses and companies began pulling out of the city, citing reasons like heightened crime rates. Atlanta's task force, whose implementation was once considered a huge victory, was now hitting dead ends and running out of leads. In the meantime, another young boy, 12-year-old Charles Stevens, would go missing and quickly be found the day after, shirtless with the same carpet-like fibers that had been found on other victims. With no clues and no suspects, a group of volunteers naming themselves the United Youth Adult Conference of Atlanta decided to take on the search themselves, organizing massive search parties to look for anything that could shed light on the disappearances. On their very first search, the group found the heavily decomposed remains of what was later determined to be LaTanya Wilson, the 7-year-old girl who was abducted from her apartment 4 months earlier. Following this discovery, the searches continued, becoming larger and more frequent, with even the mayor joining the over 3,000 people who had volunteered to support the searches. But although most of the community seemed united in finding the children, an old threat was resurfacing. The KKK, who'd already had a long and fraught history terrorizing Atlanta's black and minority populations, was still active, and many believed it was them behind the murders. With the rising racial tensions, especially after a deadly explosion at a daycare in Atlanta, city officials feared a potential race war. Although Mayor Jackson was doing his best to quell concerns, he was losing the trust of the black community, and as the city seemed to fall in on itself, more black children would go missing. On the morning of November 1st, 1980, 9-year-old Aaron Jackson disappeared from a shopping center before being found on the bank of the South River the next day, fully clothed except for his socks. His cause of death, once again, was similar to some of the earlier murders: asphyxiation, this time by smothering.
Ugh.
Just 9 days later, on November 10th, 16-year-old Patrick Rogers, or Patman as his friends called him, had gone to his friend's house to ask if he was home. Upon being told that he wasn't by his friend's mother, Patrick told her that a man had expressed interest in recording some of their songs. Patrick and Junior Harper, the friend, had written multiple songs together, so this interest from a music promoter was exciting. Because Junior wasn't home, he left and told his mother that he'd be back. The next time Patrick would be seen was a month later, in the Chattahoochee River. His body was so decomposed that the medical examiners could only conclude that he had a skull fracture, noting his cause of death as trauma to the head. By this point, the murders were getting national attention, and while the FBI was initially hesitant to get involved because of the jurisdictional concerns, the growing pressure left them with no choice. On November 17, 1980, the Atlanta FBI office began a major investigation, deploying 25 full-time agents to work on the case, a number that would grow to 45 in the coming months. December came and went without another disappearance, but the new year brought a deadlier and more frequent pattern of killings. 1981 was shaping up to be Atlanta's deadliest year yet. Only 3 days into January, 14-year-old Luby Jeter told his mother that he was going to sell car air fresheners at a mall in southeast Atlanta, but never returned.
I always told him that when they go on any place, to go in a group. And he said, I always do that, Mama.
So he knows about this and you don't think he has done anything careless?
No, I don't.
Weeks later, his body would be found dumped on the side of a wooded road, strangled. Then came Terry Pugh, last seen at a shopping center selling empty plastic bottles. 2 days later, a passerby came across his body in DeKalb County, fully clothed and strangled. February 5th, 12-year-old Patrick Baltazar vanished on his way to a boxing match. A week later, his body was found again in DeKalb County, fully clothed and strangled. This time, police found small dog hairs and green carpet fibers on his body. Later that same day, Atlanta police found more skeletal remains of a different child, and upon comparing dental records with the children who were still missing, it was determined, controversially, to be those of Jeffrey Mathis, who'd vanished nearly a year earlier while running an errand for his mother. February 19th, 13-year-old Curtis Walker disappeared after going out to find work after school. It would be just under a month before he'd be found in only underwear floating face down in the South River. His cause of death, just like the others, asphyxiation. Now something was shifting with the killer's MO.
I wonder if it was a
Bodies were no
KKK
longer being
thing.
left on land.
Like
they were turning up in rivers. The reason? Investigators working on the case had let it slip to the media that they were finding carpet-like fibers on the victims, fibers that could help identify the killer. Once that detail was published on the front page of the Atlanta Constitution, bodies started to be found in the river, presumably to wash off any incriminating fibers. At this point, police were at varying stages of identifying suspects across the different cases. 14 of the 21 cases so far had absolutely no suspects. For the other...
It's not a fucking underwear joke, it's a fucking child who was murdered. It's not really funny.
Though, they had done varying degrees of investigation. For example, police had established a strong suspect for the murder of Clifford Jones, who was found behind a shopping plaza. They had 3 witnesses who claimed they saw a manager of one of the plaza stores go into a back room with a young black child. One of the witnesses claimed he'd actually seen this manager strangle and beat the victim before taking his body to the dumpster where he was later found. Police later interviewed this manager. His alibi...
I don't know why I didn't think this was going to be a heavy watch. I mean, it's called The Atlanta Child Murders Explained, but I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think it was going to be lighthearted, but still. Fucking hell.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
Corroborated, and he failed 2 polygraph exams, but police didn't charge the man because the witness who'd seen this had an intellectual disability. Nevertheless, the police at the time generally agreed that there wasn't one deranged killer. The cases, at least to the police, seemed too distinct. LaTanya Wilson was the only case that suggested a sexual motive. Edward Hope Smith was the only victim
that was the 7-year-old. Jesus Christ.
Shot. Some victims were fully clothed, while others were stripped down to their underwear, or even wearing clothes that didn't belong to them. Despite this, some details did stand out as similarities across the murders. Most victims' cause of death was asphyxiation or strangulation, and the same carpet-like fibers had been found on some of the bodies. Of course, all victims were black children or young teens, which is why the Atlanta City Council applied a curfew on all youths under the age of 16 from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. But while this measure was intended to reassure the public, the murders continued. March 2nd, 15-year-old Joseph Bell would go missing after leaving a seafood restaurant because they didn't have work for him. Curiously, the day after he went missing, Joseph, or someone claiming to be Joseph, called the seafood restaurant and said, "I'm almost dead," and then hung up.
What do you think has happened to your son?
That's terrifying. Did the same person kill all of them? It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. Looks like there were at least more than one different killers.
I think now he been snatched. I really think now he been snatched because he been gone now a week and a few days, and if he was anywhere hiding, he'd have done been back home.
What do you think happened to him?
I think he got snatched.
Do you really?
Yeah, I really think he got snatched. This don't happen in the last month to 5 weeks. 3 attempts done been right around this store, and I think that's what might have happened to him.
He wouldn't be found until over a month later in the South River, with fibers similar to the ones found on other victims. And it wouldn't be the last time a mysterious call like that would happen. 13-year-old Timothy Hill, who had severe learning disabilities, would often...
Because surely all the ones with the same fucking green carpet fibers, those are all surely killed by the same motherfucker, right?
Call his special ed teacher, who he was very close to after school. On March 13th, after picking up Timmy's call, she only heard sobbing on the other line. The person responded to the name Timmy, and after around 15 minutes, he abruptly hung up. A month later, he was found in the Chattahoochee River, and just like the other victims, only wearing underwear with traces of fibers.
Imagine being the teacher, that's horrifying.
It was around this time when the continued killings drove residents to take matters into their own hands. Small groups of men, armed with bats and guns, began patrolling their neighborhoods. These groups, known as Bat Patrols, became a controversial response to the crisis.
I don't think it's that
The most well-known of these Bat Patrols operated in Techwood Homes, Atlanta's largest housing project. But while some saw this as a necessary defense, others saw it as vigilantes with concealed weapons patrolling neighborhoods. Both the residents of Techwood and the Atlanta PD condemned the movement, fearing that vigilante justice would lead to innocent people getting hurt before the real killer was caught. In fact, on March 20th, Public Safety Commissioner Lee Brown
banning your alt permanently. I'm watching the video for a reason, dickhead.
would arrest 2 patrol leaders on charges of carrying a concealed weapon. But while chaos unfolded in the streets, the elusive Atlanta killer remained undeterred. Over the next 2 months, 7 more people vanished in quick succession.
7?
It seemed as though the killer was getting bolder, as 6 of the next 7 were adults, breaking the established pattern of younger victims. The first was 21-year-old Eddie Duncan, whose body was pulled from the Chattahoochee River 11 days after he vanished. Shortly after, 20-year-old Larry Rogers was found decomposing on the kitchen floor of an abandoned building. The next 2, Michael McIntosh and Jimmy Payne, both found in the Chattahoochee, and both only wearing underwear. In the same month, 28-year-old John Porter was found stabbed 6 times on the sidewalk, but his case would never be officially added to the task force list. And shortly after, 17-year-old William Barrett was found strangled in a wooded area. This gruesome cycle of murders was becoming unbearable for the residents of Atlanta. It was May 1981, and 12 people had been found murdered just that year. 7 children and 5 adults. Police explained that the reason for this shift in the victims' age was because of their curfew. They claimed it had successfully kept children off the street, forcing the killer to go for older targets.
We find that there are indeed less children on our streets by virtue of the activities we've undertaken through the curfew, by virtue of the community involvement through the educational process of letting the community know that indeed we have extraordinary times in our community.
However, many residents and parents opposed this theory, claiming that the Mothers of Stop had contributed to the shift because of their community meetings, educating parents on how to keep their children safe and teaching kids how to avoid dangerous situations. In fact, the organization had even led a solidarity march in Washington, D.C., rallying national attention to the ongoing murders and demanding justice for the victims. All of this built up to the first major break in the case, one that would change everything. With more and more victims turning up in the Chattahoochee River, the FBI launched a major stakeout operation, monitoring 14 bridges from dusk till dawn. It was a large operation, with 72 officers stationed at key points along the river in hopes of catching the killer in the act. For weeks, the stakeouts turned up nothing but long, uneventful nights. Officers were usually sleep-deprived, dozing off, and exposed to the elements, insects, and animals. But around 3 weeks into this new surveillance operation, in the early hours of May 22, 1981, the entire case would change.
One and only suspect.
4 officers, Gilliland, Holden, Campbell, and Jacobs, had been surveilling the James Jackson Parkway Bridge since 8 p.m. It was now a few minutes before 3 a.m., and police recruit Robert Campbell, who was stationed below the bridge on the riverbank, heard a loud splash in the water. Immediately, he grabbed his flashlight and pointed it at the river, seeing ripples where the splash had occurred, but no discernible object in the water. He notified the other police recruit, Freddie Jacobs, and asked him whether there was anyone on the bridge. Jacobs reported seeing a car heading southbound, close to the edge of the bridge, and going unusually slow. The car, after clearing the bridge, turned into a nearby liquor store parking lot, close to where the Atlanta patrolman Carl Holden was stationed. Upon entering the parking lot, the car, without stopping, did a U-turn before heading back onto the bridge, now being followed by Holden and Gilliland. The white car headed towards the Interstate 285 highway, where it was finally pulled over by the officers. The man in the Chevrolet station wagon identified himself as Wayne Bertram Williams, a 23-year-old musical talent scout. Upon being asked for his ID, Williams asked, quote, "What's all this about?" And when the officer told him they weren't at liberty to say, Williams responded, "I know this must be about those boys." Upon being asked where he was going at this hour, he claimed that he was trying to locate the house of a woman named Cheryl Johnson, who he planned to talk to later that morning about an acting job. Upon hearing this explanation, the officers were immediately confused. Wayne was traveling not to meet Cheryl, but only to find her house, and at 3 a.m., when the meeting was set for 9:30 a.m. The officers asked to search Wayne's vehicle. He complied. In fact, officers would later recall that Wayne remained cooperative during the entire stop, despite initially seeming a little nervous. In his vehicle, officers found clumps of dog hair. Wayne explained that his family owned a German Shepherd and that the dog had recently been in the car. In the back seat, they found 2 grocery-like bags filled with clothing, one containing women's clothing, which Wayne stated was his mother's, and the other men's clothing, including a pair of long pants and dress shoes. Wayne explained that these were his basketball clothes, and he usually wore long pants while playing basketball. As for the dress shoes, he said he'd left his basketball shoes at home. They also found a 24-inch nylon braided rope in the back. In the passenger seat, they found a pair of suede gloves and a flashlight, among other things. The officers asked Wayne if he threw anything off the bridge. He said he didn't. They asked him why he was going so slow on the bridge. He said he wasn't. They asked him why he stopped on the bridge at all. He said he hadn't. Wayne even denied making a U-turn after passing the bridge, claiming he kept on driving until the intersection at Bolton Road, and then turned back. And while some officers were questioning Wayne on the shoulder of the I-285, the others were back at the bridge, searching for anything they could use to detain Wayne further. However, no signs of a body were found in the river that night, and no blood markings were found on the railing of the bridge. Since there was no solid evidence to arrest Wayne Williams, the officers had no reason to seize any of Wayne's belongings and were forced to let him go. But this wouldn't be the last we'd see of Wayne Williams. It was around this time, right after the encounter with Wayne Williams, that people would start to notice that Nathaniel Cater, a 27-year-old man known to be staying at a local hotel, had gone missing. In reality, he had last been seen the day before Wayne was stopped, but it took 2 days before anyone noticed he disappeared. The very next morning, 2 FBI agents had shown up at Wayne's home, requesting an interview. Again, he complied and welcomed them inside his parents' house. Essentially, Wayne reiterated that he was out that night looking for the address of Cheryl Johnson, a woman that had called him a few days earlier to audition for an acting job. Wayne explained that he was the vice president and founder of a company called Nova Entertainment Corporation, and as part of his work, he would distribute flyers to the public, encouraging young people between the ages of 11 and 21 to contact him for auditions.
Interesting.
2 days later, on May 24th, Nathaniel Cater's body was found in the Chattahoochee River, naked, and upon autopsy, revealed to have died from asphyxiation. He was found around 1.2 miles downstream from the James Jackson Parkway Bridge, making him the latest name on Atlanta's growing list of victims. A few days later, the FBI asked Wayne to come down to the Atlanta FBI office, where they administered a polygraph test. Wayne himself later told the press that the questions were blunt and aggressive, with agents asking things like, "Well, you killed so-and-so, why'd you do it?" and "Why don't you quit lying to us?" Wayne claimed that the officers told him all his answers showed signs of deception, though in Georgia, polygraph results are not admissible in court. Wayne Williams was the first major suspect in the case, and even without solid evidence, police were determined to keep the pressure on. They quickly obtained a search warrant for Wayne's home and car, collecting carpet samples, fibers from various rugs throughout the house, hairs from his German Shepherd, and various photos, papers, and documents for further analysis. The next day, the Atlanta Constitution published Wayne's full name and address on the front page of their June 4th edition. Within hours, his home became a media circus, with reporters, photographers, and TV crews crowding the street, trying to capture the face